Good morning. I'm State Representative Regan from the 88th District here in Central Illinois. And this morning we're here to talk about affordability and relief from high gas prices. It's no secret families are being crushed by the cost of living. We're feeling it at the grocery store. We're feeling it in our energy bills and in our property taxes. And for sure, we're feeling it every time we fill up our gas tank. So let's talk a little bit further about Illinois' gas tax. We have a multi-layered gas tax that increases automatically each fiscal year, and there is no end in sight. Last year on July 1st, the gas tax hit 48.3 cents a gallon, and here in a few short 80 days, hardworking families are going to see yet another increase. And that matters to every family everywhere, but it especially matters to our working families. Those who are driving to work or taking kids to school, or who care when the cost of groceries go up because the cost to get to the grocery store is also going up. Springfield here put the gas tax on autopilot, and taxpayers are indeed paying the price. For Central and Southern Illinois, continually increasing our gas tax hits families again and again. And for many families in Central and Southern Illinois, there are no alternatives, no robust transit system. People have to get where they're going by car. And everyday people are looking for relief from crushing taxes and the high cost of living, but under Governor Pritzker's regime, Illinoisans are continuing to be squeezed. In February, the governor proposed raising the state's budget by $1 billion. Where does he think our folks have money to spare to pay for yet another bloated budget, and it doesn't offer any relief or any incentives? I can tell you the working people can't afford it, and too many families are making impossible decisions between choosing to pay for gas, utilities, or groceries, and simply put, enough is enough. The people of Illinois need more relief and not more excuses, and House Republicans are here today to talk about offering that relief. I personally have filed measures to eliminate the state's tax on tips following the federal government's lead in House Bill 4019, and I've also offered House Bill 4147 for home utility bill relief. But unfortunately, under the supermajority here in Illinois, those bills remain in the Rules Committee, not afforded a fair hearing. And the majority can keep talking, or we can act. They can continue to shift the blame, or we can take on the challenges faced by our constituents and offer real relief and real solutions. We have a responsibility to the people of Illinois, and it's not to make excuses, it's to deliver results. And to talk further, I'd like to introduce my colleague, Deputy Leader Ryan Spain.
Thank you very much, Representative Deering. I'm State Representative Ryan Spain. I live in Peoria. And as we talk here about affordability, we have to acknowledge the high cost imposed upon families and businesses throughout the state of Illinois. We know that the state of Illinois is consistently ranked as having the highest overall tax burden in the country. That's according to Wallet Hub. We've now officially surpassed the state of New Jersey for having the highest property taxes of any state in the country. And when we think about affordability, we have traditional measures that families use as a reference point about how expensive it is to live in our state. It could be things like their power bill. It could be price of groceries like eggs or milk. But we know the most common reference point that we all use to understand affordability is the price of gas. And with the price of gas now in Illinois solidly above the $4 per gallon mark, we know that something needs to be done to provide relief for working families across the state of Illinois. That's why I've introduced, on behalf of the House Republican Caucus, House Bill 5738. This bill would institute a 6-month holiday on the sales tax imposed upon gasoline sales throughout our state. Remember, in Illinois, and this is really a uniquely Illinois construct, we imposed a motor fuel tax across the state. That was adjusted 7 years ago now in 2019. But then we imposed a sales tax on top of that motor fuel tax, a tax on a tax. That is something that we do in Illinois, and this bill would put a 6-month pause on that tax to provide immediate relief to working families throughout the state of Illinois. Pausing that sales tax on gasoline would immediately reduce the price of gas at current levels by 20 cents. It's 5 cents per gallon, or it's 5 cents per dollar, so $4 gasoline like we have now is racking up a 20-cent additional charge for every gallon at the pump. There is precedent for making this adjustment. In recent history, Governor Pritzker delayed 4 years ago the implementation of the automatic index increase on the motor fuel tax. And several years ago, under Governor George Ryan, this same proposal was delivered exactly with a 6-month holiday on sales tax on gasoline throughout the state of Illinois. Now, we acknowledge as a caucus that revenue delivered from motor fuel taxes are important for funding infrastructure in the state of Illinois. In the Rebuild Illinois capital bill that was negotiated in 2019, bipartisan compromise came together, especially on this topic of sales tax. It was the position of House Republicans that we should entirely eliminate the 5% sales tax on gasoline in the state of Illinois. We weren't able to get that done, but what we did do instead was move from using that 5% tax going to the general revenue fund. We moved it year by year, 1% at a time, to the road fund. And so the idea was that those dollars generated at the pump would now go to service and provide investment into the roads for the drivers that were paying that tax. That premise has now been abandoned by the transit reform package that was delivered in the fall veto session. So now we have sales tax that is generated on gasoline that will be applied to mass transit, primarily to Chicago, and that moves hundreds of $millions of road funding from downstate communities will not be receiving that investment. And likewise, in the Chicagoland area, a sales tax increase has been instituted in Cook County and the Collars, and a tollway increase has been delivered upon those drivers. So it only seems fair right now, especially once we uncovered the true need for transit investment in Illinois was not the multi-billion number that was given, but was a more palatable number that was reasonable here. We can afford for the next 6 months, with high gas prices impacting working families throughout the state of Illinois, to put a pause on this unique Illinois creation of placing a double tax on gasoline throughout the state of Illinois. So today, we call on Governor Pritzker to support this initiative, House Bill 5738. We would like to see the governor champion a pause on the sales tax on motor fuels throughout the state of Illinois due to high gas prices, providing immediate relief to working families that are in need. And we also propose and call for the General Assembly to make sure that this provision and the language included in it is adopted as part of the FY 2027 budget. Happy to take questions.
So, I keep seeing you with Gasty dressed alike. You had to be there, I guess. But the holiday would be the sales tax on gasoline, not on the quote-unquote gas tax.
That's right.
Okay. It sounds like such a great idea. Why aren't the Democrats rushing to either co-sponsor it or, Control-C shift insert the new version of carbon copy, your idea and claim it as their own?
Well, I hope that they do. I'm certainly accepting co-sponsors starting right now. I hope that we can deliver many, many bipartisan co-sponsors. And what that will see, this is a bill that was just filed at the end of last week. So we know what our end goal is, that the language within this bill can be incorporated into the construction of the budget, so that as we enter, again, a continued period of high gas prices, and as we transition into the summer months, we know that that is going to continue. So this is an item to really celebrate and receive bipartisan support on how we can deliver some meaningful affordability wins for families throughout Illinois. Republicans, Democrats, downstate, Chicagoland, everyone.
I think you voted to increase the gas tax and tie it to inflation in 2019. Is that a vote you're regretting at all now?
Well, I think that vote took place in a different time where we had strong investment that would be delivered throughout the state, especially to downstate communities. This sales tax that I'm speaking about was promised as a delivery into the road fund. Those dollars have now been rescinded and transferred beginning on July 1 to fund Chicagoland Transit. So it's a fundamentally different time. And I would say when the gas tax was adjusted for the first time in nearly 30 years in 2019, we had $2 gasoline. And so now we're in a different situation. And we have to be mindful of that as policymakers, that things change. And the circumstances of families that are in need and our need to provide relief to them is something that we're hearing from all of our constituents.
Speaking of things changing, obviously who knows what's going to happen in the Middle East, but let's say things go well over the next 2 weeks for the president. This conflict is resolved. Is there still a need for this legislation starting July 1st through the second half of the year?
I expect it will be based on recent gas prices, understanding of those global energy markets. And, let's say that the price of gas drops significantly. I hope it does. It still doesn't mean that we shouldn't deliver additional relief to families throughout the state of Illinois or businesses throughout the state of Illinois that transport our goods and pay high costs. Remember, we are already imposing new taxes on certain parts of the state, an increased sales tax for transit, an increased tax to the tollway authority at a cost of, I think, 40 cents per vehicle. I mean, we are racking up the taxes on the people of Illinois. We need to demonstrate visibly, as this bill will do, that we are willing to also provide relief for the people of Illinois.
Build on or restate Ben's question, I mean, if the war ends tomorrow, how many months will it be for it to come down? I mean, it never goes down as quickly as it goes up. I mean, you can look at, Christmas time.
Yeah, and I would absolutely continue to support this legislation into summer. We're thinking about gas generally tends to trend up around the holiday. We're looking at Memorial Day. Families choose to take vacations, travel around, maybe outside of Illinois. So to be able to continue to provide that relief to them, we're looking at planting season for our farmers. Diesel prices are high. The tax on diesel, I believe, is over 55 cents a gallon. So any relief is going to be continue to be appreciated. And when the majority party has joined our conversation this year in talking about affordability, we really want to see a delivery on that.
Don't forget Route 66. I hear there's a centennial and a lot of visitors, so boy, I could follow up a lot of those plans too.
Yeah, an excellent point. I mean, right here in Central Illinois and thinking about Route 66, I've got a number of my communities that are putting on celebrations. We're going to have guests coming to the state of Illinois. Wouldn't it be great to show them a benefit as well in hopes that they return?
I know that you'll be talking to your colleagues on the floor throughout this week and hopefully next week as well about this idea. But I'm just curious, both of you do have Democrats that are, your seatmates in the districts that you have, Jehangor, Booth, Sioux Shear. Like, have you talked to them about this? Everybody knows the prices are insane right now.
That's certainly something I will be doing this week. As Leader Spain mentioned, the bill was just filed and then assigned to the Rules Committee, so it's a conversation starter for sure. We have been talking a lot about affordability across both chambers here, and so it's a great opportunity for us to come together on it.
The other thing that I'd add, in the context of downstate lawmakers, you have to remember, really, it's a reminder of the massive transformation that took place in the transit bill that was passed in veto session. So this sales tax that was negotiated to go to the road fund in 2019, that's gone. Now it goes to transit. In the meantime, since 2019, we've built up massive fund balances in the road fund and the state construction account. We have more than $4 billion. Let's see. $4 billion in the road fund currently, and $2.9 billion in the state construction account. These are the two accounts that we use to invest in infrastructure. We've built up such a massive fund balance that we are going to scrape the interest generated from those funds and also use it to fund transit. So again, we have changed a lot, and it really has come to the detriment of downstate infrastructure. So let's do downstate a favor where we drive a long way to access the services and the jobs that we utilize, but for the entire state of Illinois too, recognizing that gas prices are too high, and this is something that we can do to do our part to reduce those prices.
Okay,
Thanks.